Okay, let's get on with part two of our critique and review. In this case, this will be the last part, so it shouldn't take too long. You shouldn't have to endure too much of this. So let's get right into the first one. Well, this is a really fascinating shot of this building. I'm assuming that it actually is curved that way, which makes this a really elegant photograph of it. This is nice, and it's a nice way to render it as a grayscale photo. There's really not much to say about this. The white background would be really easy to drop out if you wanted to put something else there, a different sky or whatever. But as a conversion and a generally nice shot, this is good work. Oh, here we have the bumper selfie with the bumper acting like a mirror and our photographer right there in the center of it. A nice shot, and again, a very nice grayscale conversion. The tones are good. You've got good detail here behind the grill into the radiator. You held that shadow detail pretty well. So, again, this is an interesting shot and a nice composition. The only thing I would do is a very, very, very slight crop that got rid of the edge of this plate holder. That's just a little bit distracting there in the corner. Minor deal, but it's those little things that will come around and get you in a shot. I'm also really curious as to what this is down behind the grill and below that. It's an interesting object sitting there. It's either a laser cannon designed to sweep the tires out of a car in front of you, in which case I want to know where you got it because I want one, or I don't know. I don't know what that is. All right, nice shot. Good work. Let's get on to the next one here. Well, we have an attentive pooch, certainly interested in whatever it is you or someone behind you is doing. Again, a nice conversion grayscale. We're beginning to lose just a little bit here, not because the exposure necessarily is bad, but because the tones on the dog and this highlighted side of his fur almost exactly matches the grayscale of what's behind it. This isn't something you can solve in the photograph, but it is something that you could deal with in the editing by taking this background down a little bit and making the dog stand out a little more. You might decide that maybe you don't need all of this stuff over here to complete your story, because this expression in the dog, this rapt attention that generally only dogs seem to be able to do, is really the major story of the shot. So think about whether or not this is taking away from it. And this is where the concentration really should be. But again, a very nice conversion. Well, here's an interesting point of view. You don't see many of these here taken right down from walk level. This is very nice. You've got really strong leading lines coming back into this, pointing with this slight curved line into the city. Is very well done. The real shot is right in here. So I'd consider losing a little of this on the side. Not much, because then it's going to seem really cramped, but a little bit wouldn't hurt you. Maybe to this pole would work. Let's see if that works at all. Yeah, we've got a slightly stronger line going into the image. It's not much of a change. It's a fairly slight improvement. But sometimes those very, very slight things are what's going to make the difference, particularly if you're entering something like the fair this year. It's those slight differences that are going to make the difference between winning and just hanging on the wall, or maybe not making it at all. So do everything you can to absolutely maximize the quality of the shot that you've got. Well, here we have an interesting shot looking up at the palm tree. In this case, we're a bit overexposed for the shot. The highlights over here are blown out. We've lost all detail in these palm fronds, and we really need a little more black in these deep shadows. I don't know if this can be brought back in a basic edit. Let's try. We'll try levels first. You can see you're not up against this black edge, so let's bring this back. Well, I got us something. We'll bring our gamma over a little bit. Now go back. We can bring this material up, but what we can't do is deal with this. Here's our highlight spike, and it's taking us right off the edge of the picture. So the solution in this case was to have a little less exposure in this shot so that you're not taking the highlights off the edge. But this part, the conversion, just worked pretty well. Well, we have another waterfall shot. Sepia-toned, western-looking waterfall shot. This is nice. The look of the tone seems to work for it. I would just suggest barely opening up the shadows here and in these dark spots in the shot to put just a hint of detail in it. So this is a nice shot. What you also could consider is, what is the shot about? In this case, if it's about this whole canyon area, cool. If it's about the waterfall, then we need to come and concentrate a little more on the waterfall and this water moving around it. But that's your call as to what it is you really want people to concentrate on. Anyway, it's a nice conversion. It's a good looking shot. And here's our last one. Boy, this has been easy for this last section of the work. This is an interesting shot of the little girl, a nice little view by the Ukraine house there. This is really cool. The only thing I would look at is you've got highlights that are blown out here. If I pull the levels down so that we can see the histogram again. See what's happening over here? We've got this spike. It's a big one, meaning there's a lot of tone on this area that's being blown out, and it's all of this white that's going on in here. When you're making the conversion from the raw to the file to work on, when you're in Adobe Camera Raw, bring those highlights down if you can, if there's information there. If your exposure is close, that will solve it. If it's not, then it's really an exposure problem, and you need to go and give it just a little less exposure. I know it's hard. You think, well, I'm going to lose this shadow. But remember, you can bring a lot of the shadow back. You cannot bring those lost, blown out highlights back once they're in processed form. So that's it for this group. You've all done some really nice stuff, and we'll be seeing you for the next project. Take care.